Hello and welcome to my channel. Well, this is just kind of a rambly video here because um, I heard Patty talk about this also on one of his videos. Where sometimes you just want to talk to people. You're going through something and you just want to talk to people. Well, in my case, it was um, I woke up in the middle of the night. For me, the middle of the night, I was ever since that cat Buddy has been showing up. He's been getting me into more of a routine. I know he's going to be there morning and night, so I can't be sleeping during that time, or he misses a meal, kind of stuff like that. And he wasn't, I went to sleep at 8 o'clock. I went to sleep early last night, and I woke up at 11, same, like just a little while later. You ever have one of those dreams where you don't know what the dream was, but you wake up with your heart racing, and it's almost like you're not in your same body. I don't know. It's like it's not like you were another person or something. Anyway, you wake up disoriented. I mean, like almost like an out of body experience. Like what the hell am I doing here? And you want some kind of normalcy, and you're feeling kind of like freaked out. Well, if it happens in the middle of the night, and you don't have anybody to talk to. Even if you had a best friend, you call them up in the middle of the night. What the hell's wrong with you? I woke up with a bad dream. Well, drink some milk, go to sleep. I mean, they'll give you some bad advice. Or why are you waking me up if you woke up? Uh, but if you have a pet of any kind, the dog or cat or whatever, usually you can just wake up, you pet them, and you're reassured that life is normal. Everything. This is reality. It fades away whatever was bugging you in your dream. And I I knew it was late, and I knew that Buddy wasn't going to be around or anything. So I just stepped out on the balcony, and I was just kind of like trying to get my mind back together, stabilize a little bit, calm down. And Buddy comes walking out of the pool over there, from over by the pool, and he walks up, and I thought, wow, I've never had him spend the night overnight in here because he usually wants to go out and everything. But a storm was coming up. It hadn't hit yet, but you could hear the thunder start. And he came in, and I opened up the porch, for him to look out and everything. And just having a cat to pet and stuff calmed me down. Just having a pet. I talk to dinosaurs and stuff like that, but I mean, having a pet, you at least have some excuse, like, oh, I was talking to that. It's a living thing. It's not an inanimate object. But yeah, cats don't understand that. I mean, if you go on to them with a long, convoluted discussion about politics or the economy or stuff like that, they're not going to be following that. But anyways, I just wanted to say that a lot of times when if you are isolated or alone or whatever, just having a pet, people that have a pet or can have a pet understand this. Uh, it just helps in so many different ways. You just don't realize how much. And I've usually had a pet most of my life, dogs or cats or multiples of both, dogs and cats. And after my last cat, Sparky, died, uh, it took it out of me as far as like pets, because uh, she was with me a long time. And when you lose one, it's like losing a child. And, you can avoid that by not having a pet again. But then again, you miss out on all the stuff that, you just don't realize a lot of times how valuable um, friendship from an animal can be. Because when if a cat likes you, they're not faking it. They're not doing it for whatever reason. It's genuine. It's same usually with dogs too, but dogs are more like obedient. They're more geared towards uh, pleasing their master. You know, winning the affections of a cat is a lot different than winning affections of a dog. But still, I don't know where I'm going with this. It's just that, uh, you know, it's whatever gets you by, whatever it takes to get you out of whatever bad situation you're in. You know, where if you start feeling depressed or bad or whatever, a lot of people, that's why they took up a knife hobby or flashlights or something. It's just to get your mind off of your worries. And I was talking, I emailed my older sister, and I was talking to her, and she said, we get that worrying from our mom, because my mom was a worrier. She would worry about a lot of stuff. And that might be true, you know, because it's not necessarily genetics, but it's a learned habit. And if your mother, you know, was just exhibiting this throughout your life of always worrying about a bunch of different stuff, it's gonna probably be natural for you to think that way too. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a psychologist or behaviorologist or whatever, or anyologist. um, but still, so you know, I mean, if a situation like that happens, a lot, it's no big deal to a lot of people. But I mean, if you're working and you're trying to go through a schedule and you get disrupted in your sleep, it can affect your job the next day, because by the time you finally get some sleep, you've got to get up and go to work, and your mind's not there, because you really do need sleep. Our body and our mind, you know, repairs itself during sleep, and after a while you start suffering. I mean, one of the first things that goes after a lack of sleep is your sense of humor. That's one of the first things go. I mean, for me, it's different. The less sleep that I have, the more I've been up without sleep, the more crazy I get, the more dingy I get. You know, instead of like cranky or whatever, I get crazier, I get goofier. But fortunately, I haven't been through that in a while. You know, my sleep schedule's getting back to normal. But anyways, all I just want to say like that is just, I know there's a lot of people that suffer through a bunch of different problems in our society. Uh, Not all of it diagnosed and everything. And that's just what I've done. That's one of my coping skills, you know, is if you can get a pet, a lot of times that'll help. Now, yeah, they're a hassle sometimes, you know, with all the stuff that you have to get for them and stuff you have to do. Oh, this is said throw away these. I built a shelf, a metal shelf, and these are just end caps, and it said throw them away. And I'm like, man, I don't know. That's another thing. My mom would, her parents lived through the depression. I think she was alive in the depression also, but just at the, you know, as a young child. But they develop a lot of habits of not throwing anything away. And we're really a big throwaway society. I mean, you know, food. As a matter of fact, when I was in Korea, stationed in Korea, the Koreans paid to take the trash from the base, not the other way around. We didn't pay them. They paid to take it because we threw so much stuff away. A lot of times, this was kind of like an operational security issue too, because one time I bought some like fish and chips downtown, and it was wrapped in computer paper. We used a lot of computer printout, you know, like a green and white stripe. I've got examples of it with my orders back here somewhere. But it had stuff like that. I don't know if it was classified or not, but there was a lot of information you could gain from our trash. And we throw away, like I said, so much stuff. Those safety wire pliers that I got those when there was an inspection coming up. And according to the military, you're only allowed to have, like if you're working on, you're a carpenter, let's say, for example, in a carpentry shop or whatever, you're only allowed so many hammers, you know, of a certain type. And if an inspection's coming through and you've got too many, that can be looked as like, I don't know why they would do it, but they would hide a lot of this stuff. They would know when an inspection was coming, and they would hide stuff, or they would throw it away. And that's what I was over there. I was putting trash up. We had it in a cage in Korea so the wind wouldn't blow away. I was putting trash up and I saw boxes of manila boxes with national stock numbers on them and everything else. And they were brand new safety wire pliers. They were throwing them away, and I'm like, God, I don't know how I'm going to get this out of here. But somehow I'm going to get this because it was trash. And if I got caught with it, they would say I was stealing it or something. But I found it in the trash, so I put it. I got it back. I got it back out somehow. Somehow I got it back here, and it's still in my possession. But that's just one example, you know. And also when I worked in electronics in the United States, same thing. They would have inspections, and people would put a lot of stuff in the trunk of their cars when they knew the inspection was coming. They didn't want to throw it away, and they were, you know, specialized parts. But either the method of supplying us was wrong, or the error rate was higher on a lot of stuff. But you wouldn't get by if you're only allowed 2, you know, cathode ray tubes for this particular device. You know, let's say this one, threat detector right here, and you needed to fix an aircraft. Well, if you didn't have it in on hand, and there wasn't anything to cannibalize. There was one place where we had older B-52s we could steal parts from if we had to. But yeah, you're just out of luck. You know, that aircraft's down, or it's a bad ding on somebody's record. You know, it affects operational readiness and all this other stuff. So the people that are doing this, that were doing this when I was back there in the military, had the best of intentions. They knew what they needed. It's just the regulations and everything else was saying, you can't have this many. And so if an inspection comes through and, you know, you've got too many, I guess there could be some kind of big issue. So rather than get caught with it, they just acted like they never had it. Threw it away or hid it. And that went on back, like I said, I was in the 70s and early 80s in the military. So a lot has probably changed since then. But if I know the military, a lot hasn't changed. A lot probably still goes on the same way. And yeah, that's just life. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this is just going to be a rambly one. I've got another flashlight coming in. I haven't been ordering too many flashlights, but I've got one or two more flashlights coming in, and I mentioned in one video, I said, well, that's it for new knives. I meant that's it for now for new knives. I mean, I'll get newer knives in and stuff, but until then, a lot of times I'm not gonna just throw out a video other than like I did right now, where I'm not talking about anything as specific about knives and stuff, you know. Like I try to make my videos knife related or EDC related and stuff, but a lot of times it's just life related, you know. I mean, how do you get by when you run through a bad time, you know, you're physically ill or you're mentally ill or something like that? How do you get by? And sometimes, you know, it's just distractions. You just have to distract yourself from what's going on or take your mind off of it. And, you know, I know this sounds like a platitude and it's easy to say and everything, but that's what I've done. And it seems to work okay for me, because now you look back on it later on when you look at a situation that had you upset or you were worried about, and you wonder why you even felt that way. You know, your mind is so different from that. But when you're in that particular state, it can be pretty devastating. You know, I mean, it's like you're just you're on your own, but you know you need help. You know, and there's no help, you know, visibly available or whatever. Well, you'd have to dig sometimes for that help from within. You know, you just have to pull from within and say, all right, you know, Straighten up. I talk to myself in my mind a lot of times. I was like, all right, straighten up, you know. Don't worry about it. Think about what you can control and what you can't control and what you can influence and what you can't influence. And don't worry about the rest of that crap, even though it may be scary or frightening, or they're trying to scare you or frighten you with it or whatever. Don't worry about it. Like, there's one channel, this guy always emergency alert, and I just looked in his history, and it's everything. It goes back for months and months. You know, World War III is about to happen. All this other stuff. You know, all these doomsday planes. Well, you know what? I was in the military. We always have planes up, especially when tensions are high. We always have command and control planes up. And used to be, you didn't know about it. Now we've got flight trackers and stuff like that. And they go, oh, they turned off their transponder. Well, yeah, sometimes that happens. It's either they did it intentionally or it got turned off because it malfunctioned, you know. And a transponder is just like a radio beacon way of identifying where I'm at. You know, this thing sends up a signal and sends back and says, hey, I'm this. It's kind of like identify IFF, identify friend or foe. It's like that. But there's also physical radar that that shines, you know, from the ground up looking for planes. And if you've got your transponder off, it can be much harder for them to track you because you've got two forms of signal coming back with radar, you know, and a transponder. But anyway, I don't know why we're getting off into transponders. It was just that I see a lot of misinformation about this F-35. This one, the same guy, this prepper channel, was saying he thought, with 100% surety, he thought that the whole reason why this F-35 was the guy ejected and everything was it was a test of AI to see if an aircraft could just run and do combat on its own and everything. This thing's $100 million aircraft. They're not going to do it in some uncontrolled environment. They're going to do it in like Area 51 where they can test this stuff out. And artificial intelligence, a lot of people get a weird idea. Yeah, there are autonomous aircraft. We already have them, you know, Reapers, Predators, you know, reconnaissance drones up there that they're flying pretty much on their own. They've got a pre-programmed, you know, you can fly them, but a lot of times they'll fly on their own. They can do it on their own, but they're not autonomously firing off missiles and shooting at stuff. Like, these people get carried away with theories. He says, yeah, I think they were testing it. It was just a test. You know, they told the pilot to punch out and the aircraft to fly and to do this all stuff. Well, first off, the limitation on most of our aircraft nowadays is because there's pilots in there. The aircraft can do things that they are limited a lot of times, not because the aircraft couldn't take it, because the person inside couldn't take it. But once you get starting in, it's not necessarily artificial intelligence, but once you start getting autonomous, you know, control, remote control of stuff with no human inside, then you're able to do acrobatics and stuff that you couldn't do with a normal aircraft. But they're not gonna do it publicly like that. The military is not gonna do that. So if you see a lot of these people speculating about World War III and everything, and you look at their background and they don't know what the crap they're talking about, don't look at subscribers or everything. If you can find out their history, check out their history. And if they've got no knowledge or theory of any of this stuff, yeah, you might be good at looking at flight tracker apps and everything else. It's when you do that logical leap of all right, you're following logic right here. You're going along on a progression. And then all of a sudden you start making assumptions. Well, I think. You are no longer following logic. You can't continue on like this is a scientific process. You're just guessing. You're just pulling crap out of your butt. And then you're telling everybody, oh, you know, I think this was designed so that if the pilot dies, the aircraft can continue on with its mission and attack targets. And, yeah, you know, I read stuff like that when I was a kid. It's called science fiction. Science fiction can become fact in the future, but right now, no. So, yeah, I guess this is just another one of those beware of what you hear or see, especially about Now, prepper channels, yeah, it's always good to prepare and everything else, but once again, if the real SHTF hits and everything, you're not going to be prepared. It's just like if you go out and you think, all right, I got everything I need in a bug out bag, and you go out and you're missing one thing that you didn't think about, a toothbrush, a comb, or a brush, or something like that. Personal hygiene, something along those lines you didn't think about. It's going to make a big difference. If you don't have that, maybe not life or death, but it's going to make a big difference. And believe me, you're always going to leave something out of those, because bug out bags. I don't know. It's just at one time I had stuff like that, and I've still got. Again, that would be my biggest nightmare right there. I don't know why I don't have dreams about that. I've got to evacuate because of a fire or something else, and I need to take everything. It's like, oh no. Yeah, talk about a nightmare, because then you don't have time. You don't have time to, well, I'm going to take this, or I need this, or I need this. You've already got to have that thought out and in bags, basically. It just makes your life so much easier if you've got, all right, this stuff is for camping, this is for cooking, this is for personal hygiene, this is, food, all this other stuff. You've already got somewhat organized. And most of them say 72 hours is the most that you should have to go for this. So I guess just be prepared for as much as you can, but don't get carried away with it, and be realistic about it. Be prepare for the most likely thing first, and then get into the more unlikely. Although the possibility of World War III has always been with us, but lately, yeah, it's ratcheted up. They used to have a thing called the doomsday clock. They still do, and it was kind of unrealistic. They would say how many minutes before midnight, how many minutes we've got before we could all be wiped out. And when tensions rise, they would move the clock closer to midnight. Midnight was supposed to be it when everything popped off, and that was it for the humans, on the planet or something. But yeah, when you hear that all your life, duck and cover and all this other stuff, and then you go through it, I'd rather, in the military, like I said, they always practice and train for stuff. And ours, when I was in the military, was strategic war with either Russia or China. Probably Russia, because at that time China wasn't quite as built up. But still, it was both of those were our main threats. And yeah, so there you go. I guess I've rambled on too long, but anyways. Thank you for listening to my little ramble here, and pet your friend. If you've got a pet, pet them or tell them that you like them, because they do a lot. They really do a lot for us. I mean, I know we do a lot for them, but they do a lot for us. So thanks for watching, and have a nice day.